Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, intuitive astrologer, Reiki master, and empowerment coach. And I'm here today to talk about the full moon in Pisces, which is occurring today. And it's quite significant in the sense that it is a harvest moon. And the reason it's called a harvest moon is because it's the closest moon to the fall equinox, which is happening on the 22nd of this week, September. And this is the culmination of a 6-month cycle that started in March with the new moon in Pisces. And Pisces governs the 12th house. It's a spiritual house. It's a house of reflection. It's a house that represents time alone, time working alone. It represents laboratories, research in laboratories. It represents prisons. It represents hospitals. It represents ashrams and temples and places of meditation. And so there's this sort of duplicity about it. It's ruled by Neptune, which governs fantasy. It governs spirituality. It governs conspiracies, lies, deceit. Each planet, each house, each sign has this duality to it. And I bring this up because I believe that this particular full moon is illuminating any dualities and what is or is not serving you. And part of this dynamic is sort of, it's in a ripple effect. So you may feel things wonky in your own personal life, but it's also happening in your community, in your country, and in the world at large. So when we're sitting in a full moon in Neptune, it can be super emotional. I'm sorry, a full moon in Pisces. It can be very emotional because this particular full moon will actually cross over Neptune. And this is just very significant because Neptune is in its rulership, being in Pisces. So we have this very watery, very emotional, very intuitive, and almost on some level, a need for or a desire to nurture. And I want to offer it this way because oftentimes we think of the moon as nurturing out. And I think that being a Pisces full moon, this is about the nurturing that you do to the self. And part of that is the reflection of all the evolving you've been doing this year, since the beginning of the new moon in March. And I'm focusing on this 6-month cycle because as a world, as a country, I live in the United States, we're going through extremely challenging times. We're seeing a lot of polarity in beliefs, in, gosh, I don't even think I have to tell any of you that. So the reason I bring this up is because we can get swept up in all of what's going on outside of us without even realizing it. We could be watching the news and then inadvertently walk into another room, see something that is out of balance, and then react to that. Because I think there's a real call for awareness. The full moon by nature is when the moon and the sun are in an opposition. And the moon is reflecting the sun's light on some level. So there's an illumination. It's the brightest part of the moon cycle. So rather than fearing what this has or how the world is evolving, this is an opportunity to stand in what is most authentic to you. Neptune rules spirits, meaning those on the other side. It also rules alcohol and drugs and masking and escaping. And so you may feel so emotional over these next few days. You may have been feeling emotional as this moon teed up. I know I had intended to shoot this video yesterday, and I just was so tired so quickly that I didn't get it done. So I want to say, be gentle with yourself. There's other aspects going on at the same time as this full moon. And one of those is Pluto squaring Mercury. Mercury rules how we think, how we speak, what we read about. It rules our communities, our neighborhoods, our teammates, our workmates, our classmates. And this, again, this full moon is illuminating something that is out of balance. A lot of people like to call it a wound. I don't really like that word because I feel like there's something has happened to me, and I feel like the soul brings in challenging situations often so that it can make a higher vibrational choice. And that's how we, quote unquote, break the karmic cycle. So people and circumstances will come into our experience to offer us those choices. And sometimes they're hard choices. So Pluto rules death and rebirth, squaring the way you think. And if indeed you've been thinking in community, rather than what is important to you or what you have passion about, you've been feeling, how will it integrate into my life or my situation or my community, then I think this full moon may be a little bit challenging. I think this is really about digging deeper and deeper into the levels of what makes you feel whole and complete in and of yourself, in your nurturing. I feel like it's an opportunity. We also have Venus in Scorpio right now, and Scorpio is, I'm saying this because Venus rules our self-worth, and it's in the planet of other people's money, other people's influence on us. And so we have this sort of dynamic right now going on where we have an opportunity to reflect on other people's input, influence, and approval of our lives. And is it in alignment with our deeper truth? Because I don't think it's about making them wrong as much as it is about standing in a more authentic emotional dynamic of self-nurturing that allows, in some ways, for a calming or a balancing of the quote unquote wound. Because I feel like there's a wisdom to be garnished. That's why it's a Piscean moon, spiritual wisdom, spiritual connection. It rules our ancestors. We could actually think of the 12th house of Pisces ruling past lives. So I bring all this up because there are influences coming up at the end of the year that are going to take us into 2022. And I don't know that things are going to get, quote unquote, calmer. I think what's happening is, in some ways, there is a storm brewing, but that storm, to me, is, the theme of it is win-win. So how can we create, as a human race, the win-win dynamic where I don't have to lose for you to thrive and feel good, and you don't have to lose for me to thrive and feel good? This feels very Piscean. It feels very cooperative. It feels very Neptunian in its higher vibration. And we have 3 planets in October that have been retrograde since May and April. Again, there's this theme. We start in March, April, May, and we have this opportunity to reflect. So there's Saturn, which rules restrictions and limitations, depression, and isolation in a way that makes me feel like I've been put out on an island, exiled. We have Pluto, which rules death and rebirth, transformation. It rules sex, it rules control and power. And we have Jupiter that rules our belief system. It rules expansion and wealth and good luck, all going direct in October. We'll first see Pluto go direct in Capricorn. This is a slow moving planet. Will take, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe a year to get, another year or so to get out of Capricorn, maybe a little bit less. Then we have Saturn on the 10th going direct. This rules government, authority, restriction, again, isolation. And then Jupiter and Mercury is doing a retrograde, but at this point, Mercury retrogrades feel a little bit like, oh, wow, that's the easy one. Mercury and Jupiter will both be going direct on October 18th. So I bring all this up because we are in what's called the storm period, where these three planets at their own rate of speed are starting to slow down. And then they're going to station, which is where they appear to sit stationary in the sky. When they're sitting in this position, their influence is like 5 times greater than normal. And it's a real illumination of whatever the planet represents. So as we go into this full moon, looking deeper into our own spiritual beliefs, what we want for ourselves, our passions, how our fantasy in some ways is a reality of what we'd like to experience. And then we start to take an inventory of all the evolution we've done rather than sitting in an old version of ourselves. And then we see these planets start to go forward. This is going to sort of make a division between conscious people and unconscious people. And it's not a judgment, it's just people who are aware that they're co-creating their experience and people who appear to be unaware of their co-creation. So you, as an individual watching this video right now, get to celebrate yourself. I really think that today's moon is about using the elements of Neptune and listening to music and dancing and channeling this energy into sort of a meditation. Native Americans use dance and song and ritual. Many tribal nations have. It's something that's been carried down through the eons of mankind. And I feel like now is a time to really utilize that energy rather than trying to sit in a meditation and quiet your mind. Because with Pluto squaring Mercury over this next week or so, we're going to feel a darker side of ourselves bubbling up to the future. We may find our conversation even more impatient. And Mercury is still in Libra, so it's striving to communicate those darker emotional dynamics in a balanced way, in a harmonious way, in a way that others can receive it. So I think this is a really important theme for today's full moon. I feel like as we walk into the fall and winter season, at least here in the United States, we're going to see even more what appears to be challenging dynamics. And if we get too caught up in what's happening on the outside, we may feel as if we're being pulled into a whirlwind. And I think when we kind of tuck in and we look at where do I want to put my focus, and even in the smallest of steps, because the ultimate co-creation is the be, do, have. My belief, my attitude, my disposition when I walk into a situation. So when we're using this full moon to illuminate what it is that we dream about, the 12th house represents sleep. It represents the bedroom in the sleeping capacity. So what happens in your dream time that you aspire to? And as you focus in on that, you sort of send this ripple effect out into the universe and to your fellow mankind to step into the vibration of, I'm going to create a win for me so that I am more compassionate and understanding of the win you want for yourself, even when I do not agree with it. So that's where I'm going with that. I was going to do readings for each sign, and I was going to go into the individual houses and how this would affect you. And yet at the same time, I felt like Spirit was calling me to bring us together as a tribe. And rather than dividing us up by our signs, Libra, Aries, Gemini, etc., and our houses, 2, 3, 4, and 5, whatever they are, to come together as a collective. And to take the time for us as individuals to applaud our evolution. We will never be perfect. There is no such thing as perfection. Perfection would be the dumbing down of the human experience. It's the wisdom of the challenges. It's the fabulousness of the flaws and the power in our own co-creation. And when we get brave about our own emotional body, and how much of it has been aligned to making other people happy, Because I got to tell you, as I say that right now, there's probably people of you out there saying, I'm making myself happy. And I used to think the same thing. And then as I was really getting more and more aligned to me, I realized that I have really eclectic taste and I've been trying to be more trendy, and I'm not trendy. I'm mid-century modern, and as I've acquiesced to that dynamic in myself, I found myself being more happy and more aware of the things that are in balance. And this morning, when Lucky and I went for a walk, we went into town. I needed to go to Whole Foods, and it was a day where people were so polite and kind and saying good morning. And I felt, oh, that's so Piscean to feel the spirituality of oneness, that we are all swimming here together. So when we start to look at how can I be authentic to myself, and in doing so, then I create an authenticity for you, an invitation for that authenticity, and not necessarily an agreement or an approval of it, but just let it be. So I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you like the content, this channel is focused on your spiritual evolution, your empowerment, and your fabulousness. So I hope you will subscribe. I hope you'll hit the notification button and come back again. I'll have more content moving forward. I hate to make promises I can't keep. So everybody enjoy this Piscean full moon. Remember to take care of yourself. It's quite an emotional next few days. All right, I'm out. Peace.